Today's video feature is what actually happens during a DWI or DUI investigation stop. Now, people get pulled over for any number of reasons. Usually it's speeding, but it can be things like an expired tag or a broken tail light. But there are generally two types of police interactions. One, where it's simply a traffic violation, or two, where the police have some initial concerns or suspicions about whether you're driving under the influence or driving while impaired. Now, during a DWI investigation stop, there's actually a very structured process that has been set up by NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, that police officers use to help build their case against you. Now, in many circumstances, such as the speeding example, they may not initially suspect drunk driving, but once they get to your window and smell alcohol on your breath, then it turns from a routine stop into a DUI investigation. In other cases, there's something about you on the road and how you're driving that draws their attention, and the police begin their investigation even before they turn on their blue lights. Now, before they activate their blue lights, they're looking for up to 24 pre-stop clues of impairment. What's interesting is speeding is not one of those pre-stop clues. Why is that? Well, common sense says that if you truly feel like you're not able to drive effectively, that you are impaired or drunk, that you don't want to draw attention to yourself of law enforcement, and it's easier to control your vehicle at slower rates of speed. So you try to hang around the speed limit. You might even go below it, which does become a pre-stop clue. Now, the pre-stop clues are rather lengthy, so I'm going to refer to my notes. The first set involved problems maintaining proper lane position. What does that mean? It means you may be weaving within your lane, you may be crossing the lane line, you may be swerving. A lot of folks will turn in a very wide radius. You may be drifting, or you may almost hit another vehicle or an object. One of the most common scenarios is where somebody makes a very wide turn and runs their car or truck up on a curb. That will definitely get the attention of law enforcement. Other categories include speed and braking problems, such as where you have stopping issues. You're stopping too short, too far, or jerky. Also, you may be accelerating and decelerating for no reason. You've seen that on the road where people are speeding up and slowing down for no apparent reason at all. You're also varying speed, or the classic, you are going at a significantly slower speed than the posted speed limit. The 10 miles per hour or below is going to draw attention of law enforcement. Finally, you may have vigilance problems. This is where people really are in trouble. They're driving in opposing lanes or going down the road the wrong way. You have a slow response to traffic signals, such as where you sitting there at the light turns green, and you just continue to sit there. You are slow or fail to respond to officers' commands. You stop in the lane for no reason. You're driving without headlights at night, or failure to signal, or you give the wrong signal. This is where you turn on your turn signal, but you turn your signal on to the left, and then you make a turn to the right. And then finally, you have judgment issues, following too closely, improper or unsafe lane change, illegal or improper turn, driving on something other than the designated roadway. Again, if you're driving off-road when you're not supposed to be, that will get a blue light. And stopping inappropriately in response to an officer, unusual behavior like throwing objects out, arguing, and just a general appearance to be impaired. Now, the officer will absolutely make these kinds of notes as to pre-stop clues of impairment. The next step is where they turn on the blue lights and they look to see how you respond. If you're not truly impaired or drunk and you see blue lights, you're certainly going to be anxious, but you're going to usually turn on your turn signal to let the officer know you see them, and then you make a pull over to the side of the road to follow the blue light commands. If you're truly impaired, then you may see some jerking problems, difficulty controlling the vehicle. When the officer comes up, then you may have trouble listening to the officer and following commands. You may fumble with your license or registration, or give them the wrong documents. Some people will hand a credit card or any number of things, coupons. And then, of course, when you try to get out of the vehicle, you have difficulty. You may have to use the door as a support. Some people literally fall out of the car. Others, when they get out, they have trouble. They lean on the car for support. They walk their hands down the side of the car until they get to the rear of it and then fall down. Of course, the first thing we always see in truly impaired drivers is, we hear slurred speech. Now, The officer will take all of these factors into account when they're making their report. And then the next step is personal contact, and that's where they want to give you a series of combination requests. Some are verbal and some are physical, because to safely operate a vehicle, that involves both mental and physical feats. You've got to be watching for things while you're pressing the accelerator. And so the officers will ask you a series of questions, and while you're answering the questions, they'll also be asking you to get other things like your license and registration. If you're truly impaired, then you're going to have slower mental ability, so you may not be able to do both of these at the same time. And this is where some of these videos end up on police shows like Cops, because someone who is truly impaired will do their best to try to get through this, but it's just painfully obvious that they are drunk and should not be behind the wheel. Now, those are the cases that we like to see on television. We all can giggle at them, but I promise you, these are not cases that end up in trial. The cases that end up in trial are the ones where your blood alcohol level is closer to the so-called minimum limit. That is a number that is fairly arbitrary. For years and years, it was 0.10 when you could drink at age 18. Then the drinking age went up to 21, and the minimum limit went down to 0.08, where it's been for a very long time. There are movements to try to lower that number again arbitrarily all the way down to 0.05. So what I tell everybody is this: how do I defend drunk drivers? Well, I don't defend truly drunk drivers. I defend folks who are accused of drunk driving. But we look at the evidence, we look at the video, and we look to see how they appear, how they sound, because you don't need a machine to decide if someone's truly drunk or impaired. You don't need a machine to tell you whether or not someone should be behind the wheel or not. So on those close cases, those are the ones that go to trial, not the ones that we make fun of. I hope this video helps with some of the questions about what exactly is involved. If you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly. My name is Robert Reeves. My mobile number, 704-351-7979, or you can email me, robert@rjrlaw.com. Thank you.